Today's the monthly artist study stream. Redeemed with Rosie's channel points. We're looking at Yoshitaka Amano. So most of these images were sent to me by Rosie. I did choose a couple. I did find a couple online of my own. This is the artist who did Final Fantasy, I guess, or does Final Fantasy. And as with these artist studies, I'm not very familiar with this artist. I've only ever played Final Fantasy VIII, which I did enjoy when I was a teenager. And Rosie, what about this image in particular and this artist in general speaks to you? I know you like the armor, right? You love the game, so that's part of it, but it's also the intricacies in the small details and the contrasts between floral and mechanical. Okay. I'm going to make a little note of that right off the bat. We can see if we can notice that. And as usual, I should mention that this artist study is a channel points redemption. I do one every month, and if you save up your channel points, you can redeem them and choose the artist. Amano's use of color, that is a black suit of armor, but his flourishes of color in the breastplate and the cape. Okay, that's a good thing too. I was kind of noticing that a little bit. Color flourishes. Maybe color on dark. It's interesting how this is, so his work, at least this one, we'll just talk about this one for now, because maybe maybe my mind will be changed when I look at the others. I feel like his work is both muddy and clear at the same time. I find it a little hard to decipher, and yet I know exactly what's going on. So maybe it's clear in general and opaque specifically, and it creates a mood. Like a lot of the artists that we've studied so far over the past year plus, they have a very clear focal point and often use value to draw the eye to exactly where they want you to look. And in this one, I would imagine that they would want the eye to go maybe here, the hand with this energy, or maybe up to the helmet. But if we're looking at just value, the overall shape seems to be the important thing. The silhouette seems to be more important. See it here in the grayscale one. Only a little bit of light shape is cutting into that silhouette. Maybe the wristbands. These two bands here are the only really bright thing. I wonder if we'll discover the purpose behind that, or if it's just for this one in particular. Gauntlets. That's a good word for it. He kind of fudges details. Yeah, the details maybe not so important as are the as is the overall mood, the overall feeling. Stopping to linger on individual details maybe is not as important, or maybe it's you're supposed to stop and look closer. This is almost this armor feels organic. These tendrils, especially the one on the left, looks like an insect. Maybe a mandible or something. Get the kind of light shape here. Sort of indicates that there's an opening, like for face, eyes, or mouth, maybe, but really ambiguous. Almost looks like an eye inside of this. Like the shoulder pad looks kind of like a helmet. Even the way that the highlight is applied, like here on this, I feel like it's more carapace, I guess, than metal. At first glance, it seemed like this was metal, but looking at the treatment of it, it looks more insect-like. The way these reflections are done. A little bumpy, or a little there's variation to the surface that you wouldn't expect in metal. So it gets a little ambiguous here in the middle, and that's interesting because, like I said, at a glance, I feel like it's it reads pretty clearly what's going on. But then when you stop and take a closer look, try to sort of suss out the details, it becomes less clear. The longer you look at it, maybe the longer you look at it, the more complicated it gets. This kind of swirl of energy, which almost gets lost. Again, I think that the energy swirl would be maybe played up more. It's really subtle. Almost can miss it. So I think for today, I'm going to stick with black and white. Thought about some watercolor on these, but there's a lot to learn from just the black and white. It's so amazing how in texture, just changing the shapes of highlights can completely change the texture of something. It's like magic. Let's do this. Right now I'm noticing got a little bit here. Break that up. Not so straight. I wanted to do some figure studies from this piece. His figures are really dynamic. There's great gesture to them. But let me put this up for a second. I'm thinking I'll probably do... Is that Squall? Could this be the only characters I recognize? Recognize him too, right? It is. Well, well, well. Good job, me. I gotta remember to pat my own back with my non-drawing hand. I don't want to cramp up halfway through this study. Nerd. How dare you, Phantom Pinecone? This is a piece he did for the 20th anniversary of the series. And I don't know how much in this one we're going to get these. Actually, this one has dark on color, really. If we're looking at the figures, at least in the top half of the comp. Oh, that's interesting. So the top, this arc here, is all like black, basically. Except for this one. Then down here we got more color. I like this blue as the background. These figures on top really pop. The red one does also. These ones are a little bit more subdued. Got one down here. I wonder how he arranged these. If it had to do with the color, or if it was maybe if it's in order of how they appear. Oh yeah, there's a pink one behind with a big sword. On the right there, Ursa. This one here. That's a little subtle. Get this diagonal between these two. All the protagonists from 1 to 14 are on this piece, I see. So it has to do with the series order. Okay. It is an interesting choice of this blue background when you have so many characters who are also blue. Look like Squall is attacking Golbez. Who would win in a fight, Rosie? I'm gonna guess Golbez just because he looks tougher, but Squall is heroic. I don't know anything about Golbez. Golbez is an anti-hero, you said, right? Do I want the well actually answer or the fun answer? Oh, one of the games shows them fighting. I want the fun answer. We can save the well actually for the YouTube comments when this gets edited and uploaded. The knee is almost touching the chin. Really, really dynamic. Fun answer by Golbez because he's a magical tank. All right. Yeah, Squall is flexible, right? Do you think that before he goes out on the Final Fantasy that he stretches out? It's great movement from just these simple kind of shapes and triangle forms. Again, there's that ambiguity with this hand in the foreground. It's like overlapping the coat and it's the same color, so I guess it's a lost edge, right? And then we use closure to fill in on our own that's a hand. Giving us just enough to make out what's going on. And the silhouette of the figure is so strong. I wonder, I guess silhouette is probably a word I should write down. I'm going to draw this figure next on the right here. Just trying to figure out what was going on. See the hips go this way. And I thought this leg was coming down, but actually that's the bottom of a foot. Really interesting how this is, I gotta write this down. Ambiguity. I want to write down dynamic. Even in this kind of straight up and down, still sort of static pose, I think the asymmetry in the shoulder pads and the kind of movement of the hands gives it some dynamism. The foot is right on top of that knee. It's almost a tangent. Maybe it is a tangent. Oh, silhouette. That was a word I wanted to write. Can't tell what the back arm is doing. Let's look at that up close again. I cannot figure out here. Because that's these are the feet of this character. So this character here has the sword. Then I don't know if that's... Is that the hand there? Back shoulder is dropped and out of view. Yeah, the shoulder's out of view. Where's the hand? I don't know if I guess the whole thing is hidden, right? Maybe balled up making a fireball. I'm wondering if does that have to do with this? This arc being held onto by the hand? Because I think the shoulder would have to be, like Crochet said, here. Well, I'm going to just pretend like there's no backhand. Like there's a shoulder pad or something here. So he's doing the right move of using the clothing to sell the movement, but I like that it's like spiky triangles are his shape of choice. I'm guessing that the ambiguity leads to excitement. That is my read of why a lot of this work is that way. It's the viewers got to fill in the gaps on their own. And if you give them a kind of this dynamic silhouette and this kind of exciting poses and stuff, then maybe you're more likely to fill in the ambiguous parts with even more sort of dynamism and excitement. Maybe it makes it more rewarding. The ambiguity is partly because these are sketches, not formal character designs. Yeah. They're not like for the animators to follow, right? That would be cruel. But I mean, these are they're sketchy, but I think I would consider this one a finished piece, right? Like this doesn't feel dashed off to me. Maybe the Golbez one a little bit, but it might be that when things are moving so fast in real life, your brain doesn't have time to register while the body parts are. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. The ambiguity kind of suggests motion, maybe. That's a good point. Ambiguity and dynamic suggest motion. I mean, like for character designs, like, you know, for character designs to give to the animators, you would have like very clear, straight on, kind of 3/4 view, side view, back view. Yeah, that works. I mean, if I'm drawing this, I'm making this a little bit bigger, a little bit thicker at least. Pop it forward. I want to do this figure here. Was Amano the creator of the Final Fantasy franchise, or was he hired as a like a character designer and stuff like that? I was gonna say that this was like his knee, the front of the knee. Then I look here and it looks like a little bit of a heel. So I wonder if that's the bottom of his foot coming straight out. Oh no, you know what? That's the kneecap and that's the top of the foot behind it. That's my read. I'm gonna go with that. Otherwise he's doing a split. See it either way though. He worked on the first game when the company thought it was their last game and has stayed on the whole way through. He's also done the iconic logos. Okay. So he was there from the beginning, not necessarily the creator of the game, but one of the creators, I guess, of the game. I guess you would call that, right? If you did the character designs and worked on every single one. Hironobu Sakaguchi is considered the father of Final Fantasy as he created the game and did most of the creation and shepherding of the game to production. Okay. Noted. These are the logos for the main title games. So these were also Amano. I know these logos. I've seen these before. I was going to say that first one, is it's unreadable, but then I realized it's Japanese. Like, what is that? Final fan? Kind of looks like an F. More of these triangles for movement. Very subtle down here. I think he is fond of triangles. I'm gonna write that in pencil. Maybe that won't play out for the rest of these, but and another lost edge on the glove. But mind zooming in on cloud in the piece. You want to see if your inkling is right. Yeah, let's take a closer look. You think you're right that he drew cloud in front profile so he didn't have to draw the whole width of the bow. Okay, I see. Yeah, some of these weapons are absurd. Notice that. Like this. I don't know how you would possibly use a sword that big. How could you, like, you had to carry it, walk through a door? What if he goes to a restaurant? You know, where's he gonna put it? Lean it up against the, with the umbrellas? All right, let's see. Let's take a look at the next one. What do we have? Rosie, is there another one that you would like to look at, or shall I choose? And for anybody who wants to see all of these, they are in the Discord server under the announcements tab. The weapon is modeled after a marine knife. Cloud is short and has a very strong magnetic charge on his back harness. So the sword clicks onto his back harness. I just feel like, you know, it just seems unwieldy. That's all. The machinery and the woman in the red in the top. Do you mean this one here? Oh, man. I was hoping you weren't going to say this one. How? How am I supposed to do this one? All right, let's see. Hectic. No pressure. Yeah, more coffee. There we go. I'm going to need 4 or 5 coffees for this one. Let's look at it on the big screen. Just focus on the figure. Okay. Make it a little easier. Here. So this is Terra. Because that's the emotion that I feel when thinking about trying to draw this piece. Kind of like a person-piloted mech, but it's called armor, and the piece is the one where you mentioned the florals. Ah, okay. Yeah, that is an interesting contrast. So yeah, think about that, the floral versus the mechanical. And the color on the dark, but in this case, the color is in the figure, and the dark is all on the armor. Get the floral here. So this is one of the, I guess one of the contrasts. Since he doesn't do a lot of contrast, maybe in the way that some of the other artists have used it. Not like maybe Muka or Sargent. Miyazaki. His machinery is kind of organic. Maybe that's something to think about. The organic versus the artificial. But bringing the organic into the artificial. Another triangle here. Another triangle here. Appreciate me humoring you and going with the ones you picked. It's nice to have a bit of a direction. It makes the prep work easier for me. The most difficult artist study prep I had to do was for crochet's feather study because it was so. It was both specific and open-ended at the same time. So having something to at least a starting point is helpful. All of Amano's art is beautiful, but I really like his detail, which is why there are 2 armor pieces. Yeah, those armor ones. A lot going on. I'm not sure I'll have a chance. I'll have time to look at the other armor piece very closely. You like the details in the headpiece and the snakes? Yeah, me as well. Interesting how he handles hair. So you always, like, you're taught, don't draw every strand of hair. And he doesn't draw every strand of hair, but he draws a lot of strands of hair, but he does it in a way that it suggests what it needs to without drawing attention to itself too much. Shape the eyes as they wrap around the head. Really tricky. And that makeup kind of reinforcing it. He does sheer fabrics well too. And he does really, I really like, I almost looked at, or chose to draw this one instead. And that the drapery in it is really nice. I think this must be watercolor. All of these characters seem like fine people. I'd have a beer with Golbez. I bet he has stories. I'd have a beer with Cloud too, but we'd have to sit out on the patio because he wouldn't be able to get through the door with that sword. Yeah, the blue armor is not a good person. He's a malignant tree spirit. Okay. I wouldn't hang with him then. Or this kind of triangle stuff going on with the nose, mouth here. Makes good use of pointiness. Effective use of pointiness. Like this hair dropping down. It gives it a real great sense of gravity. Let's see. This hair here underneath. That's really effective. Almost vertical. I feel there's a weight. I feel like she's moving up slowly. That's interesting effect. Right? Because there's the horizontal here and these verticals. There's just this slow rising movement. At least that's how I read it. It's really subtle and really nicely done. Looks like this character has just been woken up and is not very happy about it. The eyes sort of still half asleep. This is me on Sunday morning. Who dares disturb my slumber? Yeah, exactly that. All right. I think I wanted to just look at this one really quickly. Interested in the shapes. I'm going to do a really small thumbnail of it. I was noticing this crescent. It's almost like a crescent moon, but then when we get to the end and there's more of this kind of organic irregularity, like up on the helmet here. And there's this decoration, this decorative crescent hanging here. Shapes that they read clearly as figures, and yet there's that ambiguity again. This black of the pants is almost a continuation of this. That's a really nice touch. Like the crescent comes around here. Then we get the leg. Follows that movement across. The only thing that really breaks up these forms is the patterning. The hat also mimics the shape design. We got the front of the hat is this slender bit, and the back kind of like this, and the back of the jacket too. There's these, yeah, there's this repetition. The repetition of this bit here, this bit of the hat, this bit on the back of the cloak, bit back of the crescent. And thigh here, this here, broken up by that, lines like that, black. The faces of the figures are both the white shapes. This is overall kind of triangles once again, here. Down here. I really liked the composition of this. Let's look at the grayscale one real quick. Yeah, there's the black and the white within the figures. So there's just like this white. The white is almost a crescent, right? Coming through the middle, breaking it up. So this kind of this darker crescent this way, and this lighter crescent coming like this. You got sort of a darker gray on the back of the figure. It is glorious, isn't it, Crochet? Aesthetically, you appreciate the perfection of that crescent. It's just a really lovelily done. Got this one here. That's the work he did for Vampire Hunter D. Yeah, it's just really nicely orchestrated, this piece. Makes it feel more contained. Yeah, it's got its own, I mean, it's like its own frame. It is, you know, it's got its own frame basically. I mean, it has this field of kind of tan or whatever as a rectangle around it, but of the elements itself, yeah, it's its own thing here, right? Just breaking it a little bit for some of this, kind of that weight, that gravity, like from the previous one with the hair coming down. And in the figures that we did earlier, there was those triangles that were showing the motion, and these triangles are showing the placidity rather than the motion. So that's interesting too, using the triangles both for movement and for calm. Very nice piece. Very nice pieces. Make a note of that triangle. Well, I feel like much was achieved today. Rosie, do you have any anything else, or anybody else watching have anything else to add? Last minute thoughts on Yoshitaka Amano. What a fun artist study this was. A bit different from some of the other ones we looked at. Each one is different. Each one is its own thing. Learn a ton every single time. His art is a huge part of why the game series is so memorable, and you can see why his art is broken down like this. Yeah, you can see why when his art is broken down like this. Great. Well, good. I'm glad. I'm glad you got something out of this. I definitely did. I hope the rest of you, dear viewers, got something out of this as well. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Crochet. Check out my Patreon, $3 a month. You get to see all kinds of interesting, hopefully, definitely interesting stuff every week, including progress on the new studio and whatever I'm working on. $12 a month gets you an exclusive woodcut in the mail 3 times a year. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. Good to see you all, and hope you all have a great week. Take care, everybody.